Today we're going to talk about the ethics of belief. We'll start off with Pascal's wager. He says that God's an infinite being, and humans as finite beings can't fully understand God's nature. He says there's equal evidence, roughly, on both sides for the existence of God and against the existence of God. He thinks that there are 4 outcomes, and I'm going to list them in his idea of best to worst case scenario. So best case scenario is you believe that there's a God and you're right. Next is you believe there's a God and you're wrong, in which case nothing's lost and you've probably lived a good life. Next, you don't believe in a God and you're right, in which case there's no afterlife or nothing like that, so it doesn't matter. But the worst case scenario, he claims, is not believing in God and you're wrong, in which case you've made a monumental error. He says if you believe in God, whether there is a God or not, worst case scenario is you live a good life and you have good qualities, such as being faithful, honest, humble, kind, and generous. Wood goes by the evidentialist principle. He believes that beliefs can only be justified by the evidence, and you can't believe them, and you can only believe them according to how much or how little evidence is provided. He argues that religious beliefs are not exempt to this, and to say that religious beliefs are exempt to this principle is dishonest and intellectually shameful. He believes the 2 reasons that we owe it to ourselves to practice the evidentialist principle are self-regarding reasons. He says that wishful thinking is cowardly and shameful, and that conformity is dishonest. Those are self-regarding reasons. Other regarding reasons are that beliefs that impact others should be scrutinized, heavily scrutinized, and not held on to unless they pass the test. And he thinks that it divides the world into those who believe and those who don't, with no common ground for morality. My argument is that it's morally acceptable to believe something based on faith, and that we do it all the time. I'll use Plantinga's argument in the belief that God is a basic belief and that doesn't need a justification. He states the onus is on the atheist to prove that it isn't basic belief. I agree that it is impossible to know for sure if God exists, but that there are other things in life that we don't know for certain, but we take it on faith that they are or are not true. For example, we can't know if the world was not created or if the world was created 5 minutes ago. There's no way for us to prove that that's not the case. There's no way to prove that we're not in the Matrix. However, I believe neither of those things are true, regardless of the evidence. I also agree with James when he says that in certain situations we have to lean towards our passionate nature and take a step in faith and believe things that maybe the evidence isn't there for, or the evidence doesn't overwhelmingly there for. He believes Clifford's approach leads to avoiding error instead of seeking the truth. That's something I agree with wholeheartedly. However, I do agree that we should weigh the evidence of our beliefs. I do believe that we should scrutinize our beliefs. The problem I have with Wood's argument is who is the authority and who constitutes what is sufficient evidence. He seems to have a very stringent set of rules and guidelines for something that is as subjective as being sufficient. One of the differences is between me and Wood is that he looks at certain things and I look at certain things and we come to different conclusions. I believe the evidence for God is sufficient. I believe in the Big Bang, but I believe it proves there was a creator, because I do not believe something can come from nothing. To me, that takes more faith than to believe that there was a creator to create something out of nothing. I see the complexity and awe-inspiring beauty of the world, and I think intelligent designer. And personally, my science classes, my anatomy and my biology classes brought me closer to God because I saw the way the human body and the world works, and I thought that was an amazing process and that could never have been the result of randomness or mutations. So I do believe people should examine their beliefs, and I believe if Susie Satanists have beliefs that it should be examined, especially in this scenario when it impacts other people. The difference between me and, say, Wood is that I believe the standard of proof is not as stringent to believe certain things. I agree with Plantinga that we can't be certain of most things in life, and we need a little faith in everything and a lot of faith in some things. And I do believe we have a moral responsibility to examine any beliefs that we impose on others. Thank you.